Hey guys, welcome to the channel or welcome back. My name is Ania and you might be wondering, is it too late to start a bullet journal in 2021? The answer is no, it's not too late. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and let's go ahead and jump into the video. First of all, we have to talk about what a bullet journal is. So a bullet journal is basically just a blank notebook that you turn into your ideal planner. So if you're somebody like me who used planners in the past, but they never really quite fit for exactly what I wanted to do, then a bullet journal might just be for you. Now, most of the bullet journals come with like a dog grid. That's what you see online. Typically, however, you can use whatever you want for a bullet journal. You can use blank paper, you can use lined paper, you can use black paper, you can use craft paper, whatever you want. You basically just need paper and a pen in order to create a bullet journal. Okay, so the bullet journal system was designed for productivity and staying organized. So at the very bare bones, that's what a bullet journal is for. It doesn't have to be pretty. Doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing. It just needs to be functional at the end of the day. It has to actually help you accomplish the things you want to get done, and that's how you know that the bullet journal system is actually working. You can worry about it being pretty later, but I would encourage you to just go ahead and start. Even if you feel like you have bad handwriting, or you can't draw very well, or you're just not confident in putting something like that together, I would just tell you that we all have to start somewhere. I'll flip through one of my very first bullet journals for you so you guys can get an idea of where I started. If you look at the bullet journal spreads that I have now on Instagram and what I post here on YouTube, they are very different from where I first started. And you're gonna find that that's the case with many of your favorite bullet journal content creators. Also, writer Carol is the person who actually created the bullet journal system. So if you're confused and you're still not sure exactly what the bullet journal system is, how to use it, I would recommend watching the video uploaded here on YouTube that completely breaks down exactly what the bullet journal system is, how it should be used, etc., etc. Now, once you know the basic rules, you can pretty much do whatever you want. There's a couple of things that I don't necessarily follow from the original bullet journal method, but of course, it's all about over time figuring out exactly what works for you. So if you're thinking about starting a bullet journal, I would recommend that you think about exactly what you're needing out of a bullet journal system. Is it that you need a place to track your habits? Do you need a place to just be creatively free? Do you need a place to keep events that are happening in the future that you can't plan for now because obviously they're happening in the future? It hasn't happened yet. So you think about what you need and then think about how a bullet journal may fit into that. Some people go back and forth. Some people use a bullet journal and a digital system. It's completely up to you, but I'm just letting you know that there's many different other planners out there. And of course, bullet journaling is one of the more time-consuming ones because you have to put the time in up front to actually create the spreads that you're wanting to create. Now for me, it's one thing that's gonna take some time in the beginning of the month, and then I'm able to use it and it's able to help me throughout the entire month. So the time investment to me is pretty worth it, but everybody's not gonna feel the same. So make sure you want to put the time in before you decide to do a bullet journal. So I have many different pages in my bullet journal that I use every month. My spreads are typically pretty long, but it's because, again, I found what works best for me and the way that I need to use my bullet journal, and these are the spreads that I keep going back to because they work. So you have to think about that too. You're gonna try a ton of different spreads and ideas, and you absolutely should try as much as possible because that's how you figure out what works for you in the end. Okay, so if you've been watching this video and you feel like, okay, I'm actually ready to do this, here are some simple spreads that I recommend. First of all, I recommend that you start off very minimal to begin with. Unless you're already super artsy and creative and you feel confident in going full force, I just don't want you to be disappointed. So I would rather you start off with some more minimal spreads, you know, and then work your way up from there. That's what I did, and that's what I'm recommending you do too. Okay, so some of the ones that I feel are super useful as one is the yearly overview. Now the yearly overview basically gives you a glance at your entire year where you can put in the events that are happening in the future. So if you were planning on going on a vacation, if you were planning on going to a wedding, if you were gonna drive down an hour to, I don't know, meet someone or whatever, you can put those events in there. That way you don't forget them. So the next thing I would recommend is having a place to write down your goals and reflections. Now I say this because as you go through and you get used to having a bullet journal, you're going to want to reflect on what worked in the past and what didn't. You're gonna wanna start doing this in other aspects of your life too. So I just recommend having a space for that and just being able to give yourself the opportunity to write down what you're feeling in the moment and the things that maybe you wanna try in the future and the things that haven't worked, especially when you're first starting off bullet journaling. And also just having a place to write your goals down in general is really nice because we keep all of our bullet journals, so we always can go back and look at what was important to me 2 years ago or 3 years ago or even 5 years ago, depending on how long you've been doing it. So I would recommend always having a place for that. Okay, the next one is a brain dump. So I personally don't use one. However, when I first started bullet journaling, I had this spread in my bullet journal pretty much every single month. It's just nice to have a place to write down random thoughts that can't really go anywhere else. Right now, I use an extra notebook known as my catch-all notebook, so that's why it doesn't go in my bullet journal anymore. But if you want everything to be all in one space, I would totally recommend having a brain dump in your bullet journal. Okay, so the next one is a habit tracker, and I feel like most people usually want a habit tracker in their bullet journal when they have one. It's just really cool to set your intentions and say, okay, these are things that I really want to incorporate into my life, and these are some things I really want to do every day, and then to be able to track that over time all in one place, and then be able to look at previous months and see how you did in one habit versus another if that's what you're into. I think habit trackers, sleep trackers, mood trackers, all of those are really awesome, and I use a mixture of all of them, and I think that you probably would benefit from it too. Okay, the next one is to have a monthly calendar or some sort of monthly spread. I feel like this pretty much goes without saying. If you're gonna go ahead and organize your life, then obviously you probably want an idea of what the month ahead is gonna look like. But it's been really nice, especially when you know, doing school from home and work from home, etc., etc. It's pretty nice to be able to see everything that's coming up just all in one snapshot. So definitely a monthly calendar, gotta have one. Okay, and then the last two are going to be the weekly and daily spreads. So this is very much up to you, which I feel like I've said so much in this video, but really bullet journaling is all about how you want to do it. So I want to make that very clear. But the daily spreads are more for if you like to plan out an entire day, especially if you're somebody who likes hourly planning or something like that. A daily spread could be really useful for you. Now, a weekly spread is the entire week, you know, in a page or two, and you can write down all your tasks for the week there. So it really depends on you. I personally don't mind daily spreads. I don't mind weekly spreads. I tend to lean towards weekly spreads more than I do daily spreads. And also, I would also really recommend having some sort of task bar in your weekly or daily spread, just because I really like the idea of having a place to put tasks that don't have a date somewhere, because otherwise I just have to try and remember it. But it's just really nice to have a little task bar on the side, and then I can write like, oh, at some point during the week I need to like clean my bathroom, or I need to vacuum, or I need to clean out this one section of the closet or whatever. But if it doesn't have a date, then it's kind of hard to fit it in. So I really like to have it just in my weekly layout. And there we go, I can add it to whatever date it needs to go on, and then we're good from there. So the best way to get started is just to go ahead and start. Don't worry about making it super pretty or Instagrammable or aesthetically pleasing. You know, don't focus on that first. Focus on making sure the functionality is there for you and that this is a system that actually works for you. Especially because with this system and with all of the pressure from online, you can end up spending a ton of money on stationery that you don't need and just other things to kind of like stay in with the crowd. And it's definitely a trap that I fell into when I first started bullet journaling. I just started buying all of the things that my favorite creators were buying because I felt, well, if they're using it, then I must need them, and you really don't. And actually, some of the beginner supplies that I would recommend are just get some cheap black pens, like the Pilot G2 juice pens are pretty good. Crayola Super Tips, they're like $5 to $6 for for a pack of like, I think it's 50 colors or something like that, and they are fantastic. They're great for hand lettering if that's something you're into, and just to add some basic color to your bullet journal. Super great, cheap option. In fact, they're one of my favorite stationery, and I have more expensive stationery, so it just goes to show you don't need the most expensive stationery, but I would recommend getting those if you're wanting to throw some color into your bullet journal. So you'll notice in this video how I didn't really mention too much about the supplies, and let me just reiterate it again. It's because you really don't need a ton of supplies to even have a pretty bullet journal. You know, there's some very pretty minimalistic bullet journals out there that don't use a whole lot of supplies, and they're just as functional, artsy, creative ones. So go ahead and just start. I have one last recommendation for you, and this is actually if you're getting started but you're not sure if the system is gonna work for you, I would 100% recommend going to Michael's and getting their $5 bullet journals. That is exclusively what I used when I first started bullet journaling, and I love those notebooks. The quality is really good for a bullet journal that only costs $5, so I would totally recommend that if you're just starting out and you don't want to necessarily spend $30, $40 on one of the higher quality bullet journals, because at the end of the day, as long as it can hold your pen ink, hold your super tip or your markers, whatever, it'll be pretty good. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful. I hope that if you're thinking about starting a bullet journal, you actually go ahead and start it. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next video.